Amy is the author of that new book we were talking about, Hope for a Better Life. Those are for all the table sponsors. And Amy and her husband, Steve, they reside in Greenville and attend First Presbyterian Church. So Amy Murray, everybody.
Good evening. Thank you, South Carolina Citizens for Life, for asking me to speak tonight. I am Amy Murray, and I am from Jacksonville, Florida, but I went to Clemson University, and after I graduated, I didn't want to leave the beautiful state of South Carolina. This is my home, and my husband Steve's already been acknowledged, and he was from Somerville, and so that is where we lived for 35 years until we decided about 8 years ago to move to Greenville for retirement. Down in the low country of South Carolina, I worked as an elementary school teacher and counselor for 27 years in first Berkeley County and then Dorchester School District 2. I want to tell you tonight about a special lady named Sylvia. Sylvia grew up in London, England. She was only 11 years old when World War II began, and her job was to take care of her baby sister while her parents and older siblings were serving in the war effort. Sylvia had a sister that was a nurse during World War II, and her brother, at age 15, flew the Spitfire plane. Well, after World War II ended, there weren't many opportunities for Sylvia in England. However, she had an aunt and uncle in Jacksonville, Florida, so they decided to sponsor her to come over. So in June 1953, Sylvia boarded the SS America, bound for Ellis Island, in hope for a better life. In Jacksonville, Sylvia got a job and she was looking forward to becoming a United States citizen. She was doing really well. But 3 years after her arrival in Jacksonville, she was sexually assaulted and she became pregnant. She felt ashamed and scared. Sylvia was worried that she could lose her green card and her job. She just didn't know what to do. She thought about abortion, but being a strong Christian lady, she knew it would be against God's will to take a life. Sylvia looked and she found a Red Cross home for unwed mothers in Greensboro, North Carolina. So she went and stayed there until her baby was born. In February of 1957, Sylvia gave birth to a baby girl that was born at Duke University Hospital that she would later give up for adoption. The Children's Home Society of North Carolina required a new mother to take care of her baby for 3 weeks before she could give that baby up for adoption. So Sylvia did that. She named her baby Hope, and she loved and cared for her for 3 weeks. Before she could relinquish Hope to the adoption agency, she had a baby dedication ceremony for her in Duke Chapel, and then Sylvia gave Hope up for God's divine care. Well, as you can imagine, Sylvia's life was difficult for a while. She did return to Jacksonville, and she eventually became an insurance underwriter. In large part because of what had happened to her, she did not get married until she was 56 years old, and she never had any other children. But she always wondered about and prayed for hope. As adoption laws changed, eventually Sylvia was allowed to write a letter to Hope that could be sent through the adoption agency as long as it had no identifying information. Well, you might be figuring some of this out by now. I received that letter when I was 43 years old. Yes, I am baby Hope. When the letter arrived, I wasn't sure I wanted to answer it because you see, I had a great life. I had wonderful parents God had given me. I had a terrific husband. I had a teenage daughter. I loved my career as a school counselor. And I knew if I replied to that letter, we'd start a relationship that I wasn't sure I wanted. I didn't think I needed a relationship with my birth mother. I prayed about it for quite some time, probably close to a month. And then I just felt that I had to write her back. And again, it was with no identifying information. God led me to write her back. After about a year of exchanging letters in that way without identifying information, Sylvia and I decided that we wanted to meet. Well, guess what? The adoption agency still wasn't allowed to share identifying information with us, even though we both wanted it. So we were kind of stuck for a while, but we found a search registry that connected us, and the adoption agency confirmed it. Well, how shocked I was to find out Sylvia was living in Jacksonville, Florida. You see, when my parents adopted me in North Carolina, they had planned to live in North Carolina all their lives. That was where they grew up, and that's the state they loved. But when I was 3 years old, my dad's job transferred us to Jacksonville, Florida. So they were taking me back to my beginning, so to speak. Aren't God's plans amazing? Sylvia and I had 5 very special years of getting to know each other before she passed. She got to know my husband, Steve. She had time with our daughter, Rachel, her only grandchild. And it was a very special time. How blessed Sylvia and I both were. I am filled with gratitude Sylvia chose life for me despite sexual assault. I am so thankful that God found a way to connect us so I could learn my story and so that Sylvia could have time with her only daughter and granddaughter. Being a child conceived by rape makes me one of those children that almost all politicians say should be allowed to be aborted. How tragic is that? Our lawmakers deciding who deserves to live? The older I get, the more I realize how fortunate I am to have my life. Well, tonight, it is my honor and privilege to introduce our featured speaker for the evening, Ryan Baumberger. Like me, Ryan was conceived because of sexual assault, but he had a birth mother who gave him the gift of life and adoption. Ryan is an Emmy award-winning creative professional, an international public speaker, and co-founder of the Radiance Foundation, which affirms that every human life has a purpose. Please join me in welcoming Ryan Baumberger.